think just even that little introduction to what we watch, you just get a sense of Black Crow Walking in a nutshell. She's creativity to the last molecule. Yes. How did the music come together for your videos?
I was living with the Lakota Ghost Horse Indians in North Carolina, and I went to primitive living skills because I was learning to live in the forest and live off the forest. And someone put a piece of river cane in my hands and said, make a flute. And so they gave me a little piece of paper to know where to put the holes. And so I drilled the inside of the river cane out, and then I drilled the holes in, and I put it up to my mouth, and it also could get was a squeak and a bit of a discord note. And then my husband went on the hill, which is like Vision Quest in the Smoky Mountains, and he was suffering because it was just before winter and the snow was coming, and we were in bear and rattlesnake country, and it was raining torrentially for the 2 days and 2 nights that he was on the hill, and the whole tribe was at the bottom of the hill sending the sound of our drums up and our singing at morning and night. But the rain became so torrential that I was actually feeling this deep grief for his suffering. And so I took my umbrella and raincoat down to the firekeeper who had to keep fire for the whole of those 2 days in torrential rain. And there's a way of doing that where you call the fire spirits and you don't have a problem with the fire going out. So I took this discord piece of river cane down to the firekeeper with my umbrella, and my intention was to try and learn to play it and to send the sound up the hill so that my husband knew I was there, you know, the men knew there was someone there in the dark, you know, and as I put my flute to my mouth, I felt a piece of my spirit go out of my body and into the flute, and from that day to this I've been able to play the flute. So that music came in the background there, which we couldn't hear very well, but that's okay. That came from my CD that has Native American Indian flute music on it. Yeah.
That's so profound. Yeah, thank you. Seeds. And tell us about the pictures that you've chosen for the background to your poetry.
I wanted to use something that was uniquely mine, and so I'm an encaustic artist foremost, which is painting with wax and fire and pigment. So if you don't know the background to that, it's what's on the Egyptian, and I can never say this word, sarcophaguses, or what's the tomb?
Sarcophagus.
What is
Sarcophagus.
it? Sarcophagus. And
yeah,
and the walls in the Egyptian tombs and stuff, and so I absolutely love it because it's pure pigment, and because it's embalmed in wax, it never ever will fade, and I love the idea of painting with fire. So there's a beautiful reaction with the pigments because they dissolve at different rates, and so they have an explosion, and when they explode they create a crystalline structure that comes into the painting. And so that's my love, and I've been doing it now for quite a few years, and I've just found cold wax, which is a totally different process. It's only been introduced to Australia in the last couple of years, where you dissolve it into the wax and it becomes a cream, and then you mix your pigment, but you can't actually can't use a brush, so you have to use a special spatula from America only to paint with, and it creates a really beautiful mystical scene. I haven't done any cold wax where it hasn't kind of held the mystery and held this misty effect. So so I guess it's a culmination of what I've been doing for the last 6 years, really, with my art practices.
and how do you, back to the question. What about your poetry style?
Yes, I would like to say that my poetry is my painting,
Yeah.
because I paint what I'm feeling and I paint it in words. So the emotions come through, but also the scene. You can literally see my words in your mind as I'm reading it, so you can have the adventure with me.
And do you feel that doing the poetry film actually brought all those threads together? Like, was it an exhilarating process for you? Did you feel as though it increased your creative experience?
I do, because I'm really bad at reading my own poetry. Or I have been up till now.
Yeah.
And I had to sit with it, and oh my God, I had to really feel into it, and I had to remember what the words were, and then I had to remember how to say them, and with feeling, and where to pause and where to be silent, and I'd never really looked at that before. I've just gotten up with my book and I've read my poetry, but I've never actually put the expression of the poetry, like you do so well, into my work. So it was an incredible challenge for me to do that, but I feel like I did okay with it.
Yeah, you did. If we just have a little look at the process, because I think just bringing the poetry portal into a new region where not many people have really ventured out into such a format. I'd just like to talk a little bit with Crow about whether she found it easy, or what did you think at the beginning when I suggested putting them all together? What did you think?
Oh, I thought production. I thought, I've got to get programs. Yeah.
And was that first so that first bit was a little bit overwhelmed, a bit confused about what to do?
I didn't know if I could do it.
Yeah.
And didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it took me all of 5 minutes to work it out.
Right. So okay, and in that 5 minutes, let's see if we could develop
how to do it.
Yeah.
So basically, you get your phone and you download My Movie, which is a really, really, really wonderful app, and it's free. And on that app, you have you can load up all your photos, all your videos, and they have frames for each one. And then at the bottom of the frame, it has how long you would like that frame to be on the screen for. So you have to work out. Well, then I put my music on the CD player and sat in a quiet room in my bedroom, and I just read my poetry with the music in the background. So then I uploaded that to My Movie, which took me all of 30 seconds, and then I worked out how long how many seconds the paintings had to go for in order to get to the end of the poem. And that's all I did. And it's so easy. It really is so easy and so fulfilling. I was so proud of myself.
That was fantastic. And absolutely earned the right to be proud. There are different ways of doing it. There's different programs, but really, if you're interested in really extending your creative experience, it's worth the exhilaration to take the steps towards it. And it actually didn't take you long.
No.
Like, once you realised what the steps were, I work in a different program and a different audio program. So I'd say, you just have to do the audio with the music and the words. And Crow would say, "Oh, I can do that. Here it is on mine." And I'm trying to show her what was on mine. And then I realised that it only needed a little nudge of direction. And it's the same with the actual movie program. You do the audio first, and then you drop that into the program with your video.
And just be careful which recorder you get too, because when you download a recording app, you have to have one that has professional. Well, I've got one that's got professional syncing, and it's louder than the one that comes on your phone. So you do have one on your phone already, but this, I found that too quiet, and the other one was a lot louder that I could actually.
There's a bit of a play, the same as if you're learning any new creative thing. But I wish you all well, giving it a go. And this is the launch of the 4 Poetry Portal event season at the Hunt Artisans Gallery on Melbourne Street in East Maitland. And Jenny there is absolutely over the moon to host us as part of her creative program, which is just to support not just her, she's incredible. So I hope you've all got a little piece of paper. But there's 2 more things about the Poetry Portal events that I'd like to give some space to. One is that